Good morning, students. Today we are doing chapter 7 Birth from the book Snapshot. First, I am explaining you the first paragraph of this. Though till relief. Though till relief. When Andrew reached his house at around 12 at night, he caught the sight of Joe climbing up and down the stairs between his small clinic and the entrance of his house. On seeing Andrew, the heavily built driller, Joe had a sigh of relief. Now I'm explaining you the second paragraph. A till us. Joe expressed how pleased he was to see Dr. Andrew. He tells Andrew how he has been waiting there for him for about an hour now. Joe's wife needs Andrew to examine her even before the time of the child's birth. She is in a critical situation. On hearing this, Andrew has a sudden flashback of the unpleasant night he had with his girlfriend, Christine. But without wasting further time, he told Joe to wait outside while he got his bag. When he came out, they both began walking towards number 12, Blalena Terrace, where Joe's wife was. It was a cold night and the streets were silent, which made it mysterious. Andrew, who generally is full of life and spirit, was silent and lacked energy. Andrew had no idea what the night had in store for him and that it was going to influence his life in Banley. They both walked silently till they reached number 12. As soon as they reached, Joe revealed to Andrew that he does not intend on coming in, but he showed full confidence in Andrew. Joe's voice was tense and under pressure. Now, from the next page, 66, inside till room. Andrew entered the gate alone. He took the stairs, which were of rather small, with white and rich at a bedroom. The bedroom was not lavish or luxurious, but it was neat. Inside the room were Joe, mother-in-law, a woman of around 70 with a larger than average height and grey hair, along with a plump bedroom, lavishly or not luxurious, but it was an inside the room were Joe's Morgan, mother-in-law, a woman of around 70 with a large than average height and grey hair, along with a plump midwife to assist his childbirth. The midwife was also of an elderly age. They both sat beside Miss Morgan's, waiting for Andrew. Now the next paragraph. Let make till run away. The sweet old lady, Mrs. Morgan's mother, offered Andrew a cup of tea. She Andrew as a bacha, which is usual used while displaying affection. Realizing that the old lady might be worried about him leaving during the waiting period, he gave her a gentle smile and comforted her by assuring that he will not go away. The fact that she anticipated the period of waiting and was worried about him running away made Andrew realize that she was wise and had a plenty of experience. The next down till the over. He slipped the tea in the kitchen doorstairs, though he was mentally and physically exhausted because of the unpleasant meeting with Christine. He knew it was impossible for him even to get an hour worth of sleep. If he went home, although new in his line of practice, he was aware the situation was critical and called for his attentiveness. Strangely, he felt a bit active and decided to stay at the place till his duty was fulfilled. Now, next, an hour till face. An hour later, he went upstairs again, noted the he went upstairs again and for almost an hour, he checked upon Mrs. Morgan. He sat near the kitchen fire upon coming back. It was that time of the night where everything was still. The only sound that came was of the tickling clock, Joe's footsteps from the outside and from the almost extinguished piece of coal. While he sat in the kitchen, Mrs. Morgan's mother sat in front of him, wearing her black dress. She looked at him constantly with her wise eyes that were filled with hope. Now, next paragraph is thoughtful little quotes. Clearly, the early unpleasant moments where Christian had taken a toll on his mind, he was still being haunted by the incident that took place at Cardiff Station. He began thinking of his friends and acquaintances who had had a bad experience in love and marriage. He thought of Bramwell, the woman he loved had cheated on him. He contemplated upon the relations of Edward, who was committed to a dominating woman named Blowden. He reflected upon how Danny is living away from his wife not so happily. All of this brought him an infuriance that made him cringe. He wished to believe that the institution of marriage was a cheerful one that guaranteed a peace and companionship. He also had no other reason to believe otherwise. With Christmas shining eyes in his mind, he was undoubtedly facing a conflict with all his mind, heart, and soul in disagreement. He thus rested his chin on his chest and pulled out his legs while he glanced at the fireplace. He sat still for a few moments. His mind was still preoccupied with Christine until the old lady broke a silence. She was thinking about something else. Next page, Suzanne till Fancy. The old lady tells the doctor how worried Suzanne was on account of this complicated situation. She even refused to have anesthesia if it were to affect the baby. She told him how invested she was in the child. The old lady corrects herself and says that all of them are invested in the child. Her eyes were filled with warmth while she said this. The doctor, preoccupied with another set of worries, somehow cleared his mind and assured the old lady that anesthesia would do no harm to either of them. Next, year till work. Here, the nurse's voice was heard. Suddenly, they heard the voice of the midwife calling upon them. Andrew saw that it's already 3:30 and that he shall begin with his procedure. Thus, he got up to go to the bedroom upstairs. The next, an hour till lifeless. It took him almost an hour to perform the surgery. It was rather a tough one. While the first ray of daylight came inside from the corner of the window, the mock child was born. Unfortunately, the child was cold and still. Now I am explaining you the full paragraph. As he till broke. As he continued to look at the lifeless child, a shiver passed down his spine, while his face was heated because of the effort he put in. A wave of coldness held him. He was devastated. Moreover, he was confused. He couldn't get himself to choose between addressing the stillborn or the miserable mother. He could not make the decision consciously, so he instinctively addressed the mother first while giving the child to the nurse. Suzanne laid unconscious too as the effect of the anesthesia still possessed him. He put in all his effort to bring her out of the desperate state, even while her strength continued to weaken. He instantly broke the medicine glass to fill the syringe and injected it into her. He worked tirelessly to bring her to her sense. After a moment, when he was assured that she was safe and her body was beginning to regain its strength, he turned his attention to the child. His hair was all over his sweaty face, but he did not waste another moment. Now the next last paragraph, where till boneless. Andrew hastened and asked the midwife about the child. The midwife got anxious and asked him where the child was. She had kept it under the bed. Without wasting another moment, Andrew took the child out. It was a boy in a perfect shape and with flawless skin. His body was warm and his skin was extremely soft. The head hung loosely on his weak neck and the coat was hanging too from his body. His limbs felt boneless because the bones were so soft. Next page, page number 68. Still till shouted. Still bent to take the child out from beneath the bed, Andrew glared at the child. He observed him and thought about the reason he was so white. He knew it could only be a case of oxygen deprivations because he had seen a similar case in Sametrine. He focused on the treatment that was used. He instantly stood up and instructed the nurse to bring it hot water and cold water in separate tubs. The nurse hesitated because, for the moment, she thought the effort were useless, but the doctor said and shouted on her to get it done instantly. Next, snatching till bath. While she had gone to take what he told her to, Andrew grabbed a blanket and laid the child on it while he performed the unique respiration method. The nurse arrived with the necessary items and he began with the procedure instantly. In one basin, he cold water alone, in the other, he put hot water at the temperature he could bear. The next moment, he was seen dipping the child in those basins one after another. He continued doing it. Now, 15 minutes till child. He did the procedure for about 15 minutes. He was extremely tired and filled with sweat, so much that it blinded him. One of his sleeves got unfolded and wet with water. He breathed heavily. Despite all his effort, the child still lay lifeless. Next, a desperate remedy. He felt that he had failed and suddenly all his hope was beginning to fade. He could feel the nurse gazing upon him. Disheartened, on the other hand, there were the old woman who couldn't utter a word. Her eyes were constantly fixed upon him. He instantly remembered how badly she wanted a grandchild. Moreover, he remembered how her daughter was waiting for one. It was all waste now. Next, the floatal body. After the continuous struggle, the floor was extremely wet and dirty. The doctor almost slipped on the towel and he was just about to lose hold of the child. The child was also wet and he is being compared to a white fish. The midwife then pleaded before the doctor and told him to stop as the child is still born. Now from page number 69 and then till cry. Just as it was a miracle, the little chest which was enclosed in Andrew's hand took a breath. He continued leaving Andrew's weak in his knees. The feeling of this little one's breathing on his finger almost made him faint. Instantly he worked on reviving him with a double the effort until the child breathed deeply. As he gasped, a bubble formed by the mucus was formed from his tiny nose. His pale skin turned pink and the body no longer felt like it was lifeless. The next instant he started crying. Now from dear father till praying. The nurse muttered the words of prayer while tears rolled down her eyes. As Andrew handed her the child, he felt extremely weak and tired. The room was obviously a mess by the time. All the equipment, including blankets, towel, basin, solid instruments, the hydromic syringe, the ewer, and the kettle were all in a terrible state. The mother lay still on the bed. The anesthesia still had its effect. Suzanne's mother stood still in one place, constantly moving her lips in the prayer. Now I'm explaining you the last paragraph fully. Andrew unfolded his sleeves and put on his jacket while informing the nurse that he will take the bag later. He then went into a small room through the kitchen downstairs and grabbed a large glass of water. He took his coat and hat and headed outside. He met Joe outside and told him that everything was fine. It was around 5 in the morning and there was not too much light. While walking towards his home, he was accompanied by a few miners who had just completed the night shift. As the footsteps echoed, he had only one thing in mind. His heart was full of the thoughts that he finally accomplished something. Thank you, students.